What's up, everybody? Welcome to another amazing ISSessions. I know it's cold outside, but it is just heating up in here. So welcome. Um, Starting off the night, we're going to have an announcement by Jamie, followed by an amazing news roundup by Cem and Yusef. We're going to follow that up with a project done by me. I'll be teaching you how to build a portfolio site in under 10 minutes. We'll have a short break, and then we'll come back with our guest speaker on physical security, something we don't really learn in, or at least we don't learn very much of in our course or program rather. Breaking into breaking into banks like a boss, presented by Brice Self. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. So to kick off, I'm gonna hand it over to Jamie, who's gonna talk about our upcoming workshop.
Thank you, Kurt. A little bit of background. That title for this workshop was picked right before this meeting. We couldn't decide on it, but we went with the punniest pun. So, without further ado, we have like a really cool meeting tonight. We have like really high level, breaking into banks, building a portfolio website, some really cool stuff. But do you guys ever have that moment where like you wake up in the morning and you're like, man, how do Linux installers work? And then you go to bed at night and you can't sleep because you're thinking like, oh yeah, it must be little, Tux penguins running around running the show, right? That's like how Linux works. Well, sorry to break it to you, but I'm going to rob you of all wonder and joy about how Linux works next Sunday, where we're going to be talking about Arch Linux. Now, you may or may not have heard about Arch Linux, but Arch Linux is as bare bones as you can reasonably get with a Linux distribution. And the point of this is that I don't think a lot of us really are comfortable with how Linux works. I mean, we use it, we like to talk about it, we use some tools that are on it, but we don't really see like the guts of it. So that's the point of it. And we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things, such as hardware, installing a user interface, how does a user interface work, package management, mounting file, like all sorts of different stuff on just how Linux and the GNU operating system works. And then when we're done with that and we've got that installed and working, we're actually going to create our own little toolbox to solve some crypto and stego challenges on your machine. So not only will you actually learn how the Linux installation process works, how the operating system works, but then you're actually going to make your own little toolkit that will pretty much run on anything from a Raspberry Pi to, server machinery. So it's going to be a good time. It's going to be, 3 to 4 hours, and we're going to get into some nitty gritty stuff. So I hope to see everybody out there. And we're gonna have a great time. Back to you, Kurt.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jamie. I'm looking really forward to it. Can you, Yusef, can you post a link to the Eventbrite in the stream questions? And then we'll have a formal announcement tomorrow in the announcements.
For sure. I got you.
Awesome. Thank you. And then up next, is Yusef. Hope you're not too busy posting that link. We have
No,
Yusef and
Jem's
Cem.
gonna start. Jem's
Okay,
gonna
okay.
start, and then I will go.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So take it away, Cem, with the news roundup.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Kurt. What's up, everybody? We got some cool news for you guys today. Starting us off, I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably already heard about what's going on here. If you haven't, Parler is essentially this social media that's utilized pretty heavily by the far right, or it was, I should say. And most recently, during the events that have happened down south of the border, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have caught. If you haven't, some stuff went down, and this app was kind of the planning ground or the meeting ground, you could say, for a lot of those events. A lot of really interesting content was posted on here by users, and soon after that, the app got dropped by the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, and I think a couple of days after that by their hosting provider, Amazon Web Services, AWS. Lucky for the users that did go ahead and post incriminating data on there, this would mean that their data was wiped off the face of the earth, right? Not exactly, because security researcher Donk NB made sure that anything that had ever been posted on the site was harvested, was saved. Originally, the security researcher began this project as a way to just ensure that the media that was posted on the day of the events that happened to the Capitol, but it ended up growing bigger and bigger and bigger until they were able to get all data that was ever posted. Now, this Parler app, was often touted by its creator as a place for freedom of speech. It was a place where you could feel safe, you could say what you want and not really worry too much. Unfortunately, they ended up doing their users pretty dirty, because almost all the media that was harvested off the site had never been sterilized. All the original metadata, including exact GPA coordinates of the videos that were uploaded to the site, were still attached. So yeah, definitely not a great place to exercise your freedom of speech if that was your thing. Yeah, wild stuff.
Awesome. Cool, Jem. That's super cool. I think that's a really fascinating story. It's just crazy to see that kind of stuff still kind of exists. Yeah. Cool. Oh,
Ooh.
Jem, you again.
Oh,
My bad.
but wait, there's more.
Wait, Jem, there's more? Jem, there's more?
If you call now,
Stop it.
3 easy
No
payments
way.
of $19.99, you get a face publishing website for free. You pay
Wow.
for shipping and handling. Yeah, pretty much that. I mean, who would have thunk it? If you video yourself committing top shelf crimes, it may come back to bite you in the behind. The Parler harvest that we were just talking about essentially resulted in this new website called Faces of the Riot. And this website, on the front page, I think, features a grid of more than 6,000 unique, unmasked, that's a big point there, unmasked faces from the 827 riot videos that were posted onto Parler. Like I said earlier, many of which contained full metadata, including the GPS coordinates of where these videos were filmed. With some open source machine learning libraries and some facial detection software, the site's creator was able to detect, extract, and deduplicate every single face from all 827 videos. There was a little bit of backlash. Some people believe that this posed some privacy concerns because clearly not all 6,000 of these unique faces were inside the Capitol, nor were they, all committing crimes, but their faces were still uploaded to the site. Now, to counteract this, a recent upgrade to the platform essentially created hyperlinks on each face that when you click on whatever face you want to check out, it brings you to the video source so that visitors can judge for themselves if the face had committed any crimes. When pressed on the ethics of the utilization of facial recognition technologies, the creator actually said that this doesn't apply to them because they didn't use any facial recognition software, but rather facial detection software. And those libraries are listed there for you. TensorFlow is the open source machine learning kind of library, and DLib is the facial detection software. Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. I think it's crazy.
I love how you like emphasize the unmasked. It's not like we're in COVID or anything and people shouldn't be wearing masks.
You notice that? What's COVID? That's not
COVID? What is that?
Is that still a thing?
That's a thing that exists?
Oh, I guess I'll wear my masks.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Jeff. So this was kind of interesting. I found it interesting because me and a couple of the members in the exec team were having a discussion on cloud security the other day. So CISA is warning cloud services that there are cloud services that are being actively and successfully targeted. A lot of these attacks are based on poorly configured cloud hygiene and misconfiguration. So a lot of people are not taking or not configuring the cloud services that they're using like they should be, which is leaving a lot of loopholes. They list an organization. They don't list the name, but they say what happened to the organization. But essentially, the organization didn't use a VPN for their remote employees. So the remote employees would have to actually access their company site through the internet. So the server was actually facing the internet, and it was live on the internet, and so was port 80. So that left a gap for people or attackers to brute force them. They don't actually say what happened with the organization if someone took advantage of that, but it exists. And so an infrastructure like that shouldn't be public to everyone. That should just be accessible to only the employees because only the employees need to be accessing it. They also mention a couple of ways attackers are going about, I guess, bypassing multi-factor authentication. And one of them is through what's called a pass the cookie attack. And essentially what this is in your browser, you when you put in your passwords or your multi-factor authentication, that gets stored inside your cookie. We all love cookies. Kurt loves cookies. Jem loves cookies. Kurt loves cookies a lot more than Jem, but cookies are great.
This is true.
But in this situation, your cookie is becoming very harmful and damaging because it's storing not only your password that you put in, but it's storing whatever step in your second step of your authentication is. So if that was a PIN that you put in from your phone or something like that, it stores that. And so if an attacker is able to kind of get that cookie and use it, whether that be through a phishing scam that they have access to your computer, they would be able to run a simple command and get that cookie. And then they have access to whatever it is that you logged in to. So it's really interesting. It's not really talked about as much, cloud security, but it does exist. And because of COVID, it's increasing a whole lot. A lot of small companies and even big companies are using cloud rather than actual servers to, like local servers to host their websites, host their infrastructures. So that's leaving a lot more avenues for attackers to exploit. So the article goes into a whole bunch of stuff on like what cloud security is and how it's being compromised. So definitely check it out if it's something you're interested in.
That's wild. You're talking about we're not seeing a lot of cloud stuff, but if you actually think about computer science in its entirety, I mean, how new is cloud? You know, I think
Very new.
Yeah, I think we're only going to hear more and more.
100%.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. Cool, great story. This one I thought was really interesting. I don't even know how I really feel about it. It's really a weird situation. So essentially, a bunch of laptops were distributed to schools in the UK under the UK government's. They have this program called Get Help with Technology, and I'm assuming I didn't really look too much into the program, but I'm assuming that it's essentially providing technology to lower income families and people that need help to keep up to date and have a better experience learning. And essentially, the problem is these laptops were loaded with this remote access worm called Gamaroo, and this Gamaroo worm is actually from like 2011, but somehow it found its way onto these laptops. And this worm is actually way beyond a traditional worm because besides just spreading really, really quickly, it communicates with an outside server and it waits for instructions. So the school employees said that they were contacted and told, essentially, when this was discovered, that the laptops were infected with a self-propagating network worm that looks like it's contacting Russian servers. Wild stuff. It doesn't seem like it's as terrible as it sounds. Out of the 77,000 units that they had shipped so far, it's not all of them that are affected. And more importantly, one of the Department of Education spokespeople said that in all known cases so far, the malware was detected and removed at the point where the schools first turned the devices on. So it's not like the devices were actually, from what we know, handed to the middle school and elementary school students, but rather they were intercepted. But even still, like, the article didn't explain anything about how did this malware get on here? Who was the kind of middleman in all of this? You know what I mean? It's that's what I mean. I don't really know how I feel about the article because it didn't really explain too much, but the story is really interesting. Really interesting.
No, it's definitely interesting. I hate the fact that people are targeting little kids.
Yeah, man, it's terrible. It's like and not only that, but I think I was saying this to you earlier. If this is from low income housing and stuff, like, this laptop may be used by more than just the student in the house,
entire
right?
family,
right? And now you're kind of taking advantage of people that nobody should be getting taken advantage of, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's a really kind of scummy story. You read it and you kind of feel weird about it.
Yeah, man. I'm cringing right now.
Definitely gross feeling. I agree.
Okay, so this one's a little bit of a long one, and I'll try to make it quicker. But there's this decade-old pseudo bug that allows low privilege users root level access. It's CVE 2021-3156, and it's also known as Baron Sam Edit or Same Edit or Same Dit. I don't know. But yeah, so it was discovered by the security research firm Qualys, and it was also patched in the latest version of sudo, which is sudo version 1.9.5p2. The bug itself is a heap-based overflow, a buffer overflow, and it would allow any low privilege user, even if they're not listed in Etsy sudoers, to access or execute commands which need sudo. If you don't know what the Etsy sudoers full file is, it's a config file that controls which users are allowed to access su or sudo commands, and the actual bug itself impacts all sudo installs or almost all sudo installs, um, and thus virtually almost all Linux machines. So any machine that has sudo and has this sudoers config file is likely impacted by this bug. So this bug itself in the article talks about how if, for example, a botnet operator was to exploit this bug or this vulnerability, they would be able to use it for privilege escalation. They could just get into a low-level account, whether that be through a brute force, a phishing scheme, whatever the case may be, and then from that user go all the way to root access. And I'm going to show you how that works in just a second. But I do want to mention, and this is going to be linked into the file with all the articles, that the Qualys blog has a phenomenal, like I mean phenomenal write-up on how this bug works. It was a little bit over my head, but it was really, really good and really detailed, which is nice to see. So here is kind of the screenshot of the video. I hope you can kind of see it. And I'm gonna like walk you through step by step what happened here. And you're gonna like, I was shocked when I watched this video. Like it was just, it's a piece of cake. If you know what the exploit is, and how to write the exploit, which is I guess the hard part, it's like scary. So here you have the version of the machine, which is Ubuntu 20.04 long-term support. And then here you have the two files. The first one is the exploit code, and then the second one is used to gain root through a shared library. And I'll explain that in just a bit. So next you have a command which is compiling the actual exploit, so exploit C. And then the command right after that just shows what's inside of the la.c script. It just creates the shared library that goes into this folder that's being created, which is libness or libnss. So yeah, they're making that shared folder, and then the line after that is taking the la.c script and compiling that into the shared library. Then the author of the video goes to verify that this user is in fact a low-level user or a low-privilege user, nobody special. And then here they're executing the script inside a for loop. Wow, I spelled for loop wrong. My apologies. Inside a for loop to to overflow the buffer essentially. Okay. And after a quick second or two, the script runs a whole bunch of times, obviously, because it's in a for loop. And then you end up with this. You end up with a root shell. You can see that from the screenshot before and this one, that the hashtag, the actual line shows that you're a root user. And then he does the ID command, and it shows that it's a root user. So really, really crazy. I found it mind-boggling how quick it was, and insane. They obviously don't share what the exploit code is because they don't want people exploiting this. And what I also found really interesting is you can actually check if you're running any sort of Linux machine, if yours is vulnerable to this. Super easy. All you have to do is run this command, which is sudo edit-s /. Okay. And then there's two outputs. If you get the first output, which is this one, you are, I'm not going to say it, but you're bleeped. Okay. And not really, just update your machine. And that's exactly what I did. So I ran the command. I saw that my command showed this result, and I updated it. As soon as I updated it and I ran it again, I got this output, which is the correct output and means that you're good. So yeah, that's basically it.
Wild stuff. You said that was a 10-year-old bug?
10-year-old. Yep.
10 years. Oh man, that's wild. Cool. Yeah, so this kind of community or this kind of organization called Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA is short for that, is a military arm of the intelligence community. And what they essentially do is this is one of the things they do. It's not the only thing they do, but they're known to buy commercial databases containing location data from smartphones. And what they've been kind of doing for the last couple of years, they've been searching through heaps of data for the movements of Americans. not like domestic terrorists or corporate espionage or anything like that, but they've just been ruffling through a bunch of location data on regular Americans. This goes against this 2018 landmark ruling known as the Carpenter decision, which essentially says that the government has to obtain a warrant to get phone companies to turn over location data. But what these guys are doing is that they're not getting their data from phone companies. They're getting the same or similar data from third-party brokers, unregulated third-party brokers. This is kind of like the new industry that's been popping up because so many smartphone apps log their users' location. And yeah, it's getting easier and easier for governments to kind of forego having to go through all the legal hassle of getting the warrants and doing everything the right way. Instead, these third-party companies are literally popping up everywhere. They're in all over the place. Just recently, I think last year, the Department of Homeland Security and ICE were actually reported on having used these third-party brokers to purchase location data, and that location data actually directly resulted in the arrests of a bunch of immigrants. This just happened last year. Kind of like an ethical thing here, I guess. I don't know if they're guilty, but even then, it's I don't know. It's not really up to me to judge, I guess. But I think definitely some interesting stuff going on there. No matter what, getting the location data of regular average Joes is obviously wrong. But even I think even the fact that it's kind of resulted in these arrests of these immigrants, even if they're guilty, I don't know. This is a slippery slope, in my opinion.
Definitely slippery slope.
Definitely. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that.
Cool. So I have two more, and I'll go through them a little bit quicker than the last one. But essentially, a bunch of countries took down the Emotet botnet. Now, if you don't know what the Emotet botnet is, I'm gonna quickly talk about what it is. But essentially, it's this botnet that installs itself on hosts through, I guess, a phishing scam. So they send you an email, you click a link, malware gets downloaded. Now your computer is compromised. What the botnet or Emotet does is now your computer is up for hire, quote unquote. And any criminal organization or whatever, any criminal can come and say, I want 10 computers, or I want 40 computers, or 100 computers, and they sell off your computer, which is infected with their virus, to them. So it's a huge botnet, and it's probably like one of the largest, if not the largest, in the world. And so 7 countries, Netherlands, Germany, United States, UK, France, Lithuania, and Canada, and the Ukraine were all involved in this. And they at the end arrested individuals believed to be behind the Emotet botnet. And in the file where we give you all the links for the news articles, there's a video of them actually seizing the Emotet servers. So highly recommend you watch it because it's crazy.
Gotta watch that video. Must watch video. It's wild stuff.
Yeah. It's really cool. And another really important part about all of this is that the Dutch police released a statement saying that they were able to push an update to all the Emotet malware on people's devices, and that the malware would uninstall itself on April 25th of 2021. Now, this is great, but there's a slight problem behind it. Big companies big organizations who have hosts infected with the malware run into the problem of, if this is installed, it's a very aggressive uninstallation. So it removes almost all traces of evidence that it was there. So if they want to do any sort of investigation, they should do it now before the malware gets uninstalled because of that. And if you look here, there's a picture of the code or the update that actually calls the function uninstall Emotet. And it's set to the April 25th of 2021. And this one's kind of just a funny one, I thought. So Joker Stash is a very, very large, if not the largest, underground shop for stolen credit card and identity data. And he's retiring, or he or she or they, whoever is running it, is retiring. And essentially, the person who wrote the article believes that it had something to do with them catching COVID in November of 2020. And then as of January 15th, they sent out a message saying that they're retiring or quitting. A lot of the Joker Stash clients were reporting that the quality of their information is getting a lot worse and seemingly unreliable. So here I just have two screenshots of the two messages from Joker Stash. The first one was in November or late October, saying that they got COVID. And then the one below is the one that was posted, I guess, about a week or two ago now, saying that he deserves or they deserve a well-deserved retirement and that they're closing shop. So interesting stuff.
Joy to the
That's
world,
it.
if you ask me. It's great.
Joy to the world, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Quick thing also. I don't know if
Go ahead.
you all noticed, but there is obviously a major break between our last meeting and this meeting. So there's obviously some massive news that have happened, towards mid to end December up until now. Some might even say some of the biggest news in information security history. Obviously, just for time's sake, there's no possible way that we can go through all of these stories. It's just impossible. We wanted to keep it to the most recent, so we didn't include even some of the much bigger stories than this. We didn't include it in our discussion. But Yusuf mentioned the little list of stories that you guys will be getting, where the Emotet YouTube link will also be posted. In that text file, we've basically attached like 20, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I think a little bit more, 20 or so of the most important news stories that have happened in the last month or so. So definitely check those out. I'm sure y'all have heard of a lot of the ones that are on there, but there's definitely some hidden gems in there that we've included. So yeah, go check them out.
Yep, I'm gonna post that right now inside of news and stream questions. So check them out. Thanks,
Awesome.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Cem. You're
Thanks,
amazing.
You too, baby.
Beautiful. Thank you, Cem and Yusef, for their awesome news reporting. As always, if you're on YouTube, we'll post the news articles in the YouTube description and in the Discord news section as well. Let's see. Okay, next up we have my project, then I guess, which is about building portfolio websites. Although this is targeted, thank you. Although this is targeted towards co-op students, really anybody can benefit from a portfolio website. So let's get started. Click. There we go. Okay, so what is a portfolio site, and why is it important to InfoSec? Generally, when I think of a portfolio, I think of artists showcasing all the great art they've done. However, it also applies to technology fields, showcasing what technologies you've used, what you've worked with. At the very minimum, a portfolio site should be showcasing your achievements. If it is not showcasing your achievements, you probably don't have a good portfolio. And if you want to take a step further, you can document and catalog your accomplishments as well. So like one thing I'll mention is that a couple of months back when I was fixing up my resume and preparing for an upcoming interview, I found it really hard to recollect all the projects I worked on in the past 2 years of school. I had to like go back through all my old work and take notes on what technologies I was using and what I did, and like had to like compile it all into basically a portfolio, like to kind of remember what I learned, to be honest, because we learned so much, and it gets hard to track things. In addition, like as you get closer to co-op, at least this is my feeling, imposter syndrome starts rising, and you start looking back on your old work like it's not good, even though it is really good, and it is really it's really what's the word I'm looking for? It's really good to show employers like what you've done, like even if you don't think it's good, like it's it's good to document what happened there, document what you've done. So what are we building the site with? We're going to keep it simple. Many of you already probably know about GitHub Pages and Jekyll, so that's what we're going to be using. We're hosting with GitHub Pages because it's free and popular, and everybody probably has a GitHub account. And we're going to build with Jekyll. It's a static site generator, and it's the only static site generator that GitHub will build our content with. So that's what we'll be using. I'm going to try to go over technical very quickly as I possibly can. So this is specific to the Jekyll build process, although it kind of applies to any static site generator. To be honest, like a lot of what you learn here can be, as like the knowledge can be applied elsewhere. So there's three main components. You have the content, templates, and data, or metadata, I guess you could call it. The content is the bread and butter of a website. So you could think of like your about me page or a post about a project. That would be content. Templates would be the layouts, so on like the foundation of the site. So templates are usually used to wrap around your page content. And then we have data or metadata, which is just talks about data about like content or data about your website or data about the layouts. So first we're going to dive into content. In Jekyll, there's two main types of content. You have posts and pages. Neither of these folders are mandatory. I'm showing you here. You can have a Jekyll website without any posts, and you can have a Jekyll website without. Well, you need one page, I guess, an index page, but without like any other pages. And the only thing that really separates them is that like pages tend to be static, something that doesn't change very often. So you can think of like a static page as a home page or an about page. You don't change it that often, right? Whereas a post, these are generally used for content you continuously add. So if you're gonna you have a project and you're gonna add a new project in a week or another project or a blog post, you usually end up putting those in post folders. And then next up we have templates. So content uses layouts to get built. In Jekyll, that's usually in a layouts folder like this. You can think of layouts as like a blueprint to how to build a web page. A layout can also contain a layout, so it can be embedded in another layout. And a layout can also have includes, which are just components. So you can think of like a nav bar or a footer could be a component that gets included in a layout. And then we have data. In Jekyll, generally data is stored in your config file. You can put all your data in one config file. It's config.yaml. Let's see. And then I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. So if you want to split up your config file, so if it gets too big, you can have a data folder and then split it up into a bunch of separate data files. It's just, you don't need to, but you'll see a lot of Jekyll websites that do this just to clean up their code a bit. And let's jump into the demo. Let me pull up what we're going to be making today. So I chose this theme because it's very, it's modern and simple relative to a lot of other things. You can see we have a nav bar up here, which pulls up to a sidebar. This is kind of basically a homepage, some content in your homepage, and then under it we have posts. If you remember, I said posts are like kind of pages you post continuously. So as we go down, just all the, oh, sorry, my resolution is very low, so I'm trying to get it there. Oh, definitely not. What's going on with this page? Okay. There we go. Okay. So there's also another component. I was talking about components earlier, or the includes. One of them is paginate. So as you get a certain amount of posts, instead of just going on forever, you can have, it can paginate to new pages and such. So that's one component. Oh, this is my local. Let me go to my online version. What else do we have? There's a search in this one. Let me test it out. I don't have any welcome folders. Chocolate chip cookies. Okay, so one here goes to a post. That's cool. Back to home. An about page. It's a CV. Yep. So like a resume page if you want, and a recipes page if you're really into cookies, like Yusef and me. Okay, so how do you get started with this? First, I want to give credit to the guy that made this theme. His GitHub username is minimal or M mistakes rather. He made a theme. This theme is called Basically Basic, and I basically took his theme and reduced it to like a few core components to keep it simple, and I made a template out of it that you can easily grab. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me pull this up. Actually, let me open this up here so you guys can see. Okay, so I'm going to post this link if you guys want it. So if you go to github.com/kurtkosu/kurtkosu.github.io, you'll see a template I've created, which is, let me pull it up again, which is exactly this website right here. If you go to this repository, click use this template. If you have to be logged into an account, by the way. I'm assuming you have a GitHub account. If you have a GitHub account, go to this web page, click use this template. It'll pull up this page. So you're building a repository off this template. If you want your domain name to be your username.github.io, this has to be the name of your repository. If you make your name the name of your repository anything else, like let's say example, what will end up happening is your domain name will be this. Well, I can spell example, but X Maple example. That'll end up being your domain name. So if you want your domain name to be username.github.io, make your repository username.github.io, and then go down here and click create repository from this template. Once you do that, it'll take about a minute. And then you should see all these files here, this README setup, which I pulled from the mmistakes repository as well. Once that's all done, you go to settings, scroll down all the way to GitHub pages. In GitHub pages settings, you're going to go to the source, click branch, click main, click save. Once you click save, this should pop up. It'll give you a link to your website. What you're going to do is you want to copy that, go back to your main page, or main repository rather, click the edit button on the about and paste it into here so that you have easy access to that link. The first time you run GitHub pages, it takes a while. So it's not, when you click this link, it's not immediately going to work. Also, specifically with this theme or this Jekyll build, the first time you run it, it doesn't actually compile correctly, I guess. So after 2 minutes, if you check the website and it's kind of broken, you might just see the CSS just doesn't work at all. Things are all over the place. What you can do is just push a dummy commit. And how you do that is you just basically go to any file. We're going to be editing the config file, so I'm going to the config file right now, and I'm just going to, you could just put a space somewhere, or I think you just commit without doing anything maybe. No, you have to do something. So yeah, put a space here, sure. Then you run a commit. I'm not going to commit because people are pulling from this. Once you do that, GitHub will rebuild the website. So every time you do a commit to the repository, GitHub rebuilds the entire website with Jekyll based on your content, your templates, and your data. So if you commit nothing, they still rebuild the entire website. Once that's done, you should have, so again, I'm going to make this smaller because it's unusable. Okay. You should have this. So now I'm going to show you how to personalize it. Instead of doing commits through the repository, which is slow, which I recommend you do anyway, because it's you don't need to pull the repository, you don't need to compile offline. You can just do all these changes I'm about to show you can do directly in the repository. And just to give you an example, if you want to change a post, you can click on a post. There's an edit button right here that says edit this file. You click that and you can edit things directly in there. If it's using Markdown, you can do preview changes and it'll actually show you what your Markdown looks like, which is a nice feature. So I'm going to back out. Unfortunately, I'm not going to completely explain how Markdown works. All of these posts currently in there explain how Markdown works, so you can use these as examples. Just to reiterate again, all those posts are in the post here, so you can just go through them. You could say, okay, I want to know about image alignment. You can go to this post, and then it'll tell you how to do image alignment, and it'll be in the, let me find image alignment right here. It'll be in the repository. So it tells you how to do image alignment in here. Cool. So how much time I got? I got 10 minutes. Okay. I am going to, instead of doing this online, I'm going to do this offline. So I'm going to use VS Code, and I have Jekyll running on my computer just so you can do fast rebuilds and show you exactly what's going on. One thing you'll notice in my repository is that there's no layout. I talked about layouts and includes. There's no post folder either. I just have posts kind of lying about. The post thing is fine. You can put posts anywhere almost, as long as you can link to them properly. But the layout, if you look in the config file, which is this file, in the config file, I have a remote theme, and it says right here, Jekyll theme, basically basic. What happens is when I compile this, it pulls those files from a repository that I'm missing and builds the website with them. So if you go back to the guy who made it, mistakes, in his repository up here, he has the layouts folder, and his layout folder contains all the layouts that are used to build a repository and the includes. I didn't include them because I'm not going to do that much editing. I just want to keep it simple. But just in case you're wondering why there is no layouts in here, it's because it's just pulling it from a repository. So yeah, so I'm just going to go through. I kind of tried to make it obvious what needs to be replaced in the file. I put placeholder everywhere that needs to be replaced. So I'm just going to go through. Let's just edit some things, right? Let's put Kozubek here. Whatever email. Again, Kozubek, Twitter. Let's put ISSessions. Twitter username, ISSessions, GitHub. We can use mine. Don't need to change any of this. There's the paginate data. If you want to change how many pages are shown before a new page gets created on the, how many posts are shown before a new page gets created on the home page. Like right now it's set to 10 before it creates a new page. I'll just set it to 5 and then it'll create a new page after that. You can do that to this setting called paginate. And then I don't want the recipes folder anymore. So I'm going to delete that. The recipes, you can tell are up here. So I don't want this anymore. I'm just going to delete it. I'm probably going to delete the CV as well. I want to keep it simple, home and about. So let's go back. No, the cookies are gone, and so I'm gonna delete all these recipes. I'm just gonna delete this folder. So I deleted the front matter defaults for it because we're not using it anymore, and I deleted the folder containing all of it, and also in the data folder. If you go to theme, this is so all of the stuff in this theme YAML could be placed in the config, but I guess he just wanted to split things up, so he put some of the theme stuff in here. I actually want a different skin, so I'm going to go with night. And then this is for search, I believe, so we don't need to edit any of that. And then I'm going to delete, so this determines what shows up in the navigation. I'm going to delete the recipes MD as well. So we're going to save. Let's see if everything breaks. Jekyll serve. Takes a while. Jekyll's very slow. Out of all the static site generators I've used, Jekyll is definitely one of the slowest. That's just kind of how it is. Someday now. Okay, it's never been this though. It might be broken. Okay, no wait, generating feed. We're making it. Yeah, we did it. Okay. Jesus. Okay. Okay, so here's my new look. So I set the paginate to 5. I don't know why there's 10. Wait, am I on the wrong? No, I am on the right one. Hold up. Did I save that? Maybe I didn't. Let's go back to config. Should we set the 5? Well, at least we tried. It's fine. The night thing did work. Do we have? Okay, yeah, I got rid of the was it the cookies? We have as my email to get my email didn't change. I don't think my placeholder. Huh. Okay. Did I not save my? I might have not saved the config file. So I'm gonna double check. This should be faster this time. Hopefully, you build it once, it should build. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it's building slightly faster now. Reload it again. Am I at 5? Okay, yeah, paginate works now. It only goes up to 5, and my email should be set. Yeah, Kurt GitHub, ISSessions, Twitter. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So that's like That's a great way to just get started and build a pretty good looking profile site, right? If you want to keep the CV, you can. It's really interesting how it works. You fill out this JSON file here, and it'll compile it into Markdown, which is pretty cool, or at least convert it into Markdown. If you don't want it, you can just delete it out of here. Delete that CV page file, and then you can delete the nav to the CV page file. If you want to make a post, you can follow the template we kind of have laid out here. It's date, it goes date, year, month, day. Let me try to pull this open, and then just a name of the post, whatever. So I'm just gonna copy this. Actually, let's just make a brand new one. Let's do 2020, whatever date, doesn't matter. Example.md. I'm gonna copy, and then in the top of every post, you'll have YAML front matter. So when I talked about data, it's in the same layout as this. It's just in the top of a post. So right here, you can see title, categories, tags. I don't need to use any of this. I deleted all that. There's a modified attribute, which I don't need to use either, to be honest. I'm going to keep it simple. And then anything under it is content, and it's literally written in, it's normally written in Markdown. You could probably use HTML as well, and it would still render, but it's recommended you just try to keep it in Markdown. If you don't know how to use Markdown, all of these folders kind of teach you, not folders, sorry, pages, posts rather. So let's pull something up. I'm just going to copy this. We'll use this. I'm going to save that. Let's run Jekyll again. There's a live reload for Jekyll, but it's broken on my, where's my terminal? There we go. Oh. It doesn't work on the live reload doesn't work, so I have to rerun Jekyll every time, which is, that's just how it is. Oh, might be slow again. I believe in you, remote theme. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys want to get started, you can copy once again. You can go to my GitHub. I have a template pre-made. You can just click use this template. Well, you don't have to put Centrum says house address is also shown. You don't have to put that. You can delete your what you don't want out of the JSON file, and then it will turn it into whatever. So what did I change? I don't remember. Oh, I added a post, right? So we should see a new post. What date was it? Oh, I didn't know. January. I don't know what post is. Maybe I do need to put the date in. Might have been a mistake. Okay. But in general, that's how it kind of works. I'm trying to find my post, though. I really like to see where it is. Newer. Anyway, I'll figure out the problem is later. If you guys have any questions, we're about to go on break. I can open it up to the chat. What would you like? Would you like me to do anything to show you how to do something in this template I've made?
Kurt, I have a question.
Yep. Go for it.
So you mentioned that Jekyll is has the slowest build, and I think you mentioned to me, I'm not sure if you mentioned this during the presentation, but it has like the lowest amount of minutes. I'm just wondering, like, what other platforms would you recommend to build a portfolio site?
Platforms. So GitLab is significantly better because they support a large number of static site generators. So you have your choice. You don't have to use Jekyll. In fact, the Jekyll that GitHub uses is very limited because they only allow certain whitelisted plugins. So if you want to get like really creative and do some like out there things, you can't use a lot of user created plugins, which is a shame. For instance, I know this pagination that's working here. So where it shows 5 posts and then it goes to a new page. You can only use it on one page. I remember that being an issue for me. And when I wanted to use it on like, say like I had another one, like another page that had a bunch of pagination going on, that didn't work at all, which was annoying. So like GitLab pages works great to using other, or even if you want to use Jekyll and use other plugins, GitLab pages is still better. The reason I chose GitHub is because everybody knows GitHub. They're comfortable with it. You know, you don't have to make a new account. You can just host your site here. It's just it's very convenient, I guess is the word. There's also who just came out? Was it Cloudflare that they're doing a beta, and I applied for it, and they had some very wild like infinite bandwidth and some crazy stuff. So they haven't gotten back to me. I haven't gotten that application, I guess. They haven't accepted it, but I would definitely like to get into that program as well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions before we go on break? Cool. If you guys have questions during the break, just reach out to me. I know I didn't do a great job explaining. We didn't have a lot of time. There's a lot of things I could have gone in depth in. So I tried to do my best with the limited time I had. So yeah, when we come back, we'll be featuring our guest speaker, Brice Self, who is going to talk about breaking into banks like a boss. If you are a CCR or a Sheridan student and want CCR credit, I think we can post a link. Yeah, Nash has a link. The code is secure. So I have the code right here. Just type in the code, fill out the information, and you'll get credit for attending today's class. ISSessions. Thank you.
If only ISSessions was a class.
Feels
Funny.
like, well,
If it was a class, this would be the best class ever. But you
Sometimes
fall
I
asleep,
learn.
obviously. You would fall asleep.
Awesome. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I have the pleasure to introduce tonight's guest speaker, Brice Self. Brice Self is a cybersecurity professional specializing in physical security, social engineering, wireless security, incident response, malware analysis, and digital forensics. Prior to joining Rendition InfoSec, Brice served in the U.S. Navy, where he acquired his network security specialties, extensive tactical training, and tradecraft. Brice also shared his cybersecurity experience speaking at numerous conferences and continues to share his experience with his local cybersecurity community, just like us. Thank you so much for coming, Brice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, glad to be here. Appreciate you guys having me. ISSessions, truth be told, Yusef contacted us and sent our company a rather compelling email. So I saw that and I was like, I'm sure somebody from our company would love to speak. And I got lucky in doing that. So I'm pretty passionate about this topic. I haven't spoke, a couple caveats here. I haven't spoke at a conference just because of COVID. And gosh, I guess, probably a year or so. And then also doing this, I guess, live online is kind of weird for me, right? I would rather do it in front of hundreds of people where I can actually see their faces and hear them laugh at my bad jokes and see everything what's going on, right? Especially from being like a social engineer, you kind of feed off of people's energy and the cues that they're giving you, right? Reading their body language, and that's something I cannot do right now with you guys. And then I wish I could even share my video, but it looks like more than 25 users. You can't share your video, which hey, I'm fine with. If that's a sacrifice we got to make to have more people come in here and learn a little bit. 100% down with that. So that's what I like doing. I love, sharing the knowledge I have that I gathered kind of over my years of doing this, and just giving back as much as I can. So I'm pretty informal. Feel free to unmute yourself, laugh if you want to, throw a question in the chat, whatever it is, and we'll rock this out together. So, all right. If you guys are ready, I'm ready. So let's get it kicked off. So this is breaking into banks like a boss. All right. So who am I? So I'm Brice Self. That's my Twitter handle up there. If you want to add me on Twitter, feel free. I'm not too active on there. I usually get active around the conferences and that kind of thing. Otherwise, I'm just kind of busy. And truth be told, I'm like one of those guys that likes to unplug a little bit from the computer and the devices. So. But yeah, feel free to add me on there. I work with Rendition InfoSec. Let's see, I think I have a slide on there, so I'll talk about them here in a second. But basically, I'm our physical pen test lead. I also did digital forensics and incident response, for us. I sometimes do that, help out when I can. I'm currently basically leading our sales team and then doing our business relationship management, right? So just maintaining those relationships there. But whenever we have a physical pen test come up, basically I lead that effort and make sure that we stay successful. So prior to joining Rendition, I was a CT in the Navy. I was in the Navy for basically shy of 7 years, and is where I learned a lot of cool things. I also did some work for a 3-letter agency. And some cool guy stuff like that. So take that for how you will. And then whenever I'm not breaking into your buildings and basically stealing your candy off your desk, I like to go camping. I say ride motorcycles, but I just sold mine recently, so I got to figure out a new hobby to replace there. And then breaking into your office and stealing your candy. So I like Reese's peanut butter cups. So if I ever pen test your company that you might work for, then leave those on the desk for me. Yep, appreciate it. Appreciate that, Mina. So yeah, leave those out. All right. So like I said, I work with an awesome company called Rendition InfoSec. If it has to do with cybersecurity, pretty much we do it. So we do our digital forensics incident response. Hey, we've been breached. We have a ransomware attack. Come help us out. We do Army's way cooler than Navy. You're crazy, man. You're crazy. No, all branches are awesome, right? Mad respect for the military. So, but Navy's definitely better. So we do red team and pen testing, obviously, threat hunting, merger and acquisition due diligence, training, education, staff mentorship, and then we have a SOC where we monitor our clients' traffic in Augusta, Georgia. And then as you see down there below, that is not a Photoshop picture there. That's actually our ambulance, right? So we, cyber ambulance, cybersecurity enhancement unit. That's Hacky McHackface. You can, follow Rendition's Twitter there. And then, sometimes we post videos of that with the lights and sirens and, take it to client sites and all that stuff. It's great. So we run CTFs out of the back of that at conferences. Whenever they were running it. So hopefully we'll get that thing back in the swing of things. So I know we have to start it up every once in a while, right, and ride it around town. Just let them know who's boss, right? So now it's really cool, really sweet. All right, so here's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about physical security pen testing. What it is, why it's important, some common misconceptions that I've kind of come across doing the testing, whether that's from clients or from individuals, or whenever you're at a conference, you're like, hey, you ever come across that? So we'll kind of go in depth on a couple of those things. Understanding the art, how I actually go from a client that says, hey, here's an address, to getting into their server room, right? And plugging in malicious USBs, or getting into the CEO's office and, stealing their credit card that they left there, right? And then we're going to talk about lessons learned, right? So things I've learned kind of going through this, how I kind of fine tune and get better at breaking into buildings. And then my wife basically made me put in this slide of frequently asked questions. She's like, you always go to these talks and basically, all these people ask great questions, but then you go to another talk and then they ask different questions. She's like, you need to just put all these like frequently asked questions in here. So threw those in there for her to cover a couple of those. And then basically, obviously, this is a learning, for educational purposes, right? So it's cool. I can break into buildings, but how to stop me from doing that, how to protect yourself from people like me, or people who are, I guess, wear the black hat version of me, right? My evil twin getting into your building. So we are not technically legally allowed to use the lights and sirens, unless we're on some type of private property. That's that's all I'm going to say. All right. So path of least resistance. So Rob Joyce said it best. He said, "Don't assume a crack is too small to be noticed or too small to be exploited. Well-run networks make our job hard." And so that's totally true. We as pen testers, as red teamers, we obviously have a job, and it's to prove that we can or cannot get into your network in some way, shape, or form. It's obviously frustrating, but also rewarding at the same time when whenever you're able to get into a network and you're like, okay, cool, awesome, pat on the back. But at the same time, you're trying to make sure that your clients are as secure as possible, right? And make sure that anything kind of small that they patch up, because a person like myself or an adversary in real life is going to take advantage of those small, overlooked vulnerabilities. Take advantage of those, and it could be very catastrophic. So that's why we do what we do, is to make sure that those big breaches that you hear of don't happen anymore, or go unnoticed, or we can kind of catch it and fix it before someone actually tries to do it. And I actually have a really cool story about that I can talk about here in a bit. So, all right. So how do you physical assessment? All right. So what is physical pen testing, right? So physical penetration testing, pen testing. The primary objective for a physical pen test is to measure the strength of existence physical security controls and uncover their weaknesses before bad actors are able to discover and exploit them. So there's your definition. But essentially, right, we're breaking and entering. We are getting permission to break the law, right? And it's super cool. You get to kind of pick locks and bypass sensors and sneak past security and lie to security and lie to people, and I mean, all kinds of fun things like that. But the reason we're doing it, like I said, is to uncover those weaknesses, so actual threat actors don't take advantage or can't take advantage of them. A great story is I did a physical pen test for this company at this building, and I kid you not, maybe 3 months later, they contacted us and they said, hey Brice and Rendition, listen, they just thanked us again. They're like, thank you again for doing this. We actually had an incident where we had legitimate adversary trying to break into the building to access basically a sensitive area into their building. And I don't want to get too much in depth, and could give away kind of who this client was, but basically, because what we did, and then finding those weaknesses and then saying, hey, this is what you need to do, what you need to do to fix that. It basically prevented those adversaries from getting in. So that right there just makes me overwhelmed with joy, right? Because that's exactly why we do it. So. All right. So why is it important? All right. So so there's an old tale that basically goes where so Yusef says a CTF, right? So a CTF, capture the flag. I'm sure you guys know what capture the flag is. So do we have any red teamers in here? Any hackers, guys that like to kind of exploit? I know in cybersecurity, you got the hackers, you got the defenders, you got the forensic people, all pieces of the puzzle, right? To further move that cybersecurity. Okay, yeah, future red teamers. All right, cool. All right, so let's say you're doing a CTF, right? And you have Group A doing on one side, and you have Group B on the other side. And basically, you have the moderators of the CTF, and they're in the center there, and they have a stack, 2 servers sitting there, right? And they the moderators say, hey guys, all right, Team A, Team B, all you have to do is basically own this. Own the data, right? All you have to do is own the data on these servers, right? So Team A just starts hacking away, right? They start scanning ports and seeing what's open and seeing what they can do there. And Team B just kind of sits back and they're just like, he said we just have to own the data, right? So they say, okay. So they get up and they walk over to the desk and they just unplug the server and they take the 2 servers and they bring them over to the desk, right? And so then now Team A is like, well, we can't obviously scan anything anymore, right? Everything's unplugged, right? So who actually owns the data, right? It's Team B. And because the server wasn't locked up, right? And it's just something simple like that. Team B has that data. So that's what I personally go after, right? I see basically too many organizations where they pump so much money into hey, we need to make sure you're monitoring, make sure you have all these ports closed, and make sure we have all these tripwires inside logically, right? Tripwires inside our network, and it's going to alert us, and oh, it's going to be great, and that's all well and good, but what does all that matter whenever I can just walk past your security guard because they're sleeping, and I can just get into the elevator because there's no access, right, to get past that. And then I can just go up to the server room. I can just slip that lock because it's super easy and it hasn't been changed out in 10 years. And then I can just pull that server out or plug in a USB, right? So it doesn't matter at that point. So from what I've gathered, and I know that sounds like really crazy. It's like, well, Brice, that's never happened before. And it's like, I do this all the time. I mean, security guards sleeping, old locks, right? That are easily pickable, bypass, doors open. I mean, I'm going to get into this. It's crazy, but for me, it is one of the most overlooked areas in cybersecurity, in my opinion. So, all right. So let's talk about some common misconceptions, right? So I basically created this talk because doing physical pen testing. I looked online and scoured, and there's a lot of great talks on this topic. But a lot of what I saw was, okay, yeah, so we basically social engineered them, and then okay, here's all the cool stuff, right? Then we started picking these locks, and this is what this lock was made of, and then what we did was we ended up, all this crazy stuff, and a lot of the physical pen test talks, they talk about, the lock picking and the bypassing sensors and all that, and it's super important. And I would say, a big chunk of this topic is is that, and being able to do that job, you have to know that stuff, right? But a lot of the times when I get in, I mean, gosh, I would say 70% of the jobs that I've done, of the engagements that I've done, getting into a building, I mean, from start to finish, no one's caught me. Got the data, got into all these secure areas I wasn't supposed to. I didn't take out my lockpick set one time. And it's just because there's different ways to go about it, right? 100 ways, what do they say? 100 ways to whatever it is. So basically, that's why I did this talk, was to talk about that social engineering piece from start, where your client says, hey, here's my address, do your worst, to, what do I look for showing up whenever I fly in that day, and then getting my eyes on that building, to getting into that room, or even to the front door, right? So what are all the things that I do to that point? And that's what I really focused on for this talk. So, all right, so we're going to be talking about reconnaissance, surveillance, and then some canaries there, and we're going to break those down. All right, so some common misconceptions. So I get this a lot, where they're like, hey Brice, listen, do your worst, but I guarantee, and a client said this to me. They were like, you're not going to get past the front desk, I promise. They were like, hey, we have lasers, and we have biometric scanners, and then we also have those, pressure sensitive pads, and if you even step foot on that, you're super fat, so you're going to trip those, no problem. And I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. But just to let everyone in on a little secret here, I haven't gotten caught yet, right? So I've gotten into every single building, and basically got that mission accomplished, if you will, and haven't gotten caught. So I'm going to show you how to go about that, and that's how I did it, right there. So that's me, and that's how I usually get in. Just drop in from the ceiling. I have my buddy just kind of rope me down. No, that's not me. That's Tom Cruise. He's an actor, and that's Mission Impossible. But it's actually, funny enough, it's not this glamorous, right? It's definitely not. Look at that computer. Look at that. I mean, that computer is, that's a beast, right? Yeah. So it's definitely not this glamorous. And mind you, I've been in federal buildings, right? Federal banks specifically. It does not get this cool. And there, don't get me wrong, there's some places that get this cool, but in a lot of the places, the majority of the places where you're like, oh yeah, I have stock in this company, or oh, I pay for monthly service for this company, I go to their headquarters, and it looks nothing like this. And it's usually those companies that are letting you in, right? Just because you have some fake piece of paper that says, hey, let me in. So, all right. So some more misconceptions here. So you were lucky, you had inside knowledge. I had basically a client deny that I basically messaged him in the morning, or early that morning. I said, hey, all done. I got into your server room. I got into the CEO's office. I basically had access to everything. And then they say, well, that's impossible. There's no way you did that. And then obviously I had to send them a picture to kind of prove that, right? But then it was like, oh, you had inside knowledge. Like, there's no way, right? We're so secure. And it's like, well, no, what I did was actually pretty simple. It would have cost someone about $20, and then would have gotten into your bank, and I had access to basically transfer money to my account. I mean, guys, I'm literally sitting here. I get into a building, and I get into basically I go past security. up the elevator into a floor, right? And all that's kind of controlled. And then I get to a point where I'm staring at this computer, which is not locked, by the way. And then also, to top it off, cherry on top, it has the password on a sticky note, obviously, right on the monitor. And it's completely unlocked. And this is a federal bank, mind you. And all I had to do was basically punch in my bank information, type in how much I wanted to transfer, and then toss it over, and that's it, right? That is a true story. That's how easy sometimes it is. And then I know what everyone's thinking is like, well, gosh, Brice, why didn't you just do that, right? My wife asks me all the time, and it's like, well, I don't want to be in handcuffs, right? I'm not going to fare well in prison. You know what I'm saying? I want to be a good guy, and I want to do this for everyone else. So yes, it is super illegal, but I had permission to do it. I didn't transfer any money, mind you. But yes, okay. So actually, you bring up a good point, Littlest Indian, which is a great name, by the way. Basically, some of the stuff, obviously, I'm going to talk about is illegal. There are some things that you can do that, as far as my process goes, that is legal. But at a certain point, if you don't have permission, any active things, and I'll let you know, is illegal if you don't have permission. All right. So. Okay, so let's talk about the art, right? So this is one of those legal things that you can do. Basically how I break this down is the first step is observation, right? So this is very passive in what I do. I basically look at, first I start with open source intelligence, right? OSINT, right? So I'm on Google, I'm Googling my face off. I'm looking at Google Street View. I'm seeing what the building looks like, kind of inside and out. Are there alleys? How many floors, right? Who's the internet service provider, which will come in handy a lot of times, and I'll explain that here in a bit. Are there any floors available for rent or for purchase, right? Because a lot of companies, they don't occupy all of the floors. They don't occupy all the floors in the building, and they have some available for lease or for rent. So just different information like that on the internet that you can just kind of say, okay, cool, getting all this information. Are there pictures of people, maybe their, I don't know, their Christmas parties or any company functions where they're wearing their badge, right? We've seen it where you can get on Google Images and see pictures of their badges, right? It might be last year's model, but gosh, it's very close to this year's model. Different things like that. All right. So I'm looking for foot traffic as well. So who's going in, who's coming out, what time are they doing that? Cleaners, deliveries. Are deliveries going in the front door? Are they just going in the back door? Is there a delivery dock? Where are people parking, right? If it's a downtown area like New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, a lot of people don't take their cars all the way to the building, obviously. A lot of them use public transportation, but some of them do have parking decks underneath the building, right? And that kind of stuff is not widely known. And then you kind of have to, fight the weather and go walking around, right? To see if you can find that parking garage, right? Because maybe there's a way you can get into the parking garage and come up from underneath. Who knows? So different entry points. I'm kind of looking for everything. What are people wearing? What are the approximate age of people going in and out? Is it mostly men? Is it mostly women? Kind of all these things you have to take into consideration to basically build this plan of how you're going to go in. How true is it that carry a ladder, clipboard, and people will let you in? It is so true. So true. I haven't done the ladder thing. And I wish I could show you guys, but I basically well, you know what? I'm not going to spoil it. It's in the talk. I promise I will get to it. All right. So, did anybody recognize, hang on, before I move on, this is very important. Did anybody recognize this picture at the bottom? Yes, Home Alone. Good job, Seth. 10 points. 10 points for Gryffindor. Listen, okay, so Home Alone is a great movie. in the sense that this is what they do, right? So anyone, the wet bandits. Anybody remember the scene, right? So basically, Marv's talking to Harry, or sorry, Harry's talking to Marv, and he's like, look, this house. He's like, watch. In 3, 2, 1, the lights are going to cut on, right? And he knows exactly. He's counting the timers, exactly the light timers, right? It's because he's been doing recon in these neighborhoods. He knows exactly what's going on, right? He's asking people, what's going on, right? And then we kind of get into the next phase, right? So it's a little bit more active, where this right here is kind of a gray area as far as legality is concerned. So I would kind of stay out of this piece, just so everyone's aware. So into your recon phase, right? So now you have him dressing up as a cop, right? And he's not trying to go into the building at this point, meaning he's not trying to rob it and do what he actually needs to do, but he's dressing up as a Chicago cop, right? Asking some questions. Oh yeah, what kind of security measures do you have? And he's like, oh, we got locks on the doors and timers on our lights. It's the best anybody can do, right? Yeah, you going on vacation? Yeah, exactly. So he's basically pulling this information out, pretending he's someone that he's not supposed to be, to get information to figure out how he's going to come in and when he's going to come in and how he's going to do it. So this is exactly what I do, right? I will dress up as a delivery person, or I'll have one of my guys dress up as a delivery person. We'll come up with this nice fake memo from 1-800, delivermyflowers.com, whatever you want to call it. And it'll look nice. And we'll say, we'll find someone on LinkedIn. We'll find someone like Yusef on LinkedIn, and we'll say, oh, Yusef works for this company. Cool. It looks like he wants some chocolates and some flowers today. So we'll go to Walgreens and we'll grab some chocolates and some flowers. And then we'll basically go in and we'll go to the front desk, and then we'll kind of look around, right? Take our time. Maybe we'll try a couple different entrances to kind of play dumb, right? Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to come into this entrance, but I was coming into this entrance for a reason, right? To see if it was locked at a certain time, or if anybody will notice me. So I will also, go up and say, hey, do you have, oh, sorry. I'll say, hey, do you have this person? I'm trying to deliver these flowers. I'll look at their badge, right? I'll lean in to see if I can see what's on their computer. How are they looking these people up? Are they going to call them? If they're going to call them, are they going to use 4 digits on their phone? Because I know it's an internal number at that point. Or are they going to use their cell phone, right? Are they going to dial 10 digits? Or are they going to dial 7? Do they have a call list? Do they only call one number, right? How quickly do they call a number for deliveries whenever it's kind of weird? I'll get close enough to clone their card. Absolutely. Yeah. If that's my approach, definitely. I will definitely try to bump into someone or hang outside to see if I can get close enough to clone a badge. Absolutely. Dumpster diving, right? We've been dumpster diving in the back to see not only if we can find data back there, but also we see a camera back there. So how quickly is someone going to come out to the back? Are they actually monitoring the cameras? So that kind of thing. And then we'll obviously look at these badges and we'll see if we can come up with a nice replica of them, or something similar where we can test out some stuff. So. All right. So you're kind of getting ready, right? You kind of know your plan of attack, and you're doing a final preparation, right? So we're going to create these badges. We're going to have these papers. We know they're internet security, or internet service provider. And then what's always a good one, right? Because obviously we need to get our hands on computers and we need to check their networks. So a lot of times we'll go in as ISPs. So we'll come up with a badge because maybe we couldn't get a hold of an employee badge, or they're doing their best to hide their employee badges. So we can't go in that way. So sometimes this way is a great one because we can usually figure out with an ISP what their badge looks like, or come up with a really darn good one, and then make a nice memo saying that we have permission to go in there and do whatever we want. So we basically come up with that plan of attack, get ready. what I was going to say is someone mentioned the clipboard. I have this this leather portfolio. It has the legal pad in there. It has a pen. It has papers. Man, it looks super professional. And I will definitely bring this in. I got it for $1 at a yard sale, right? And this thing has gotten me into so many buildings because I look so professional when I carry this around. You slap that bad boy underneath your armpit, and you carry and you walk like you have a purpose, like you're supposed to be in that building. Guaranteed. All right. So we're going to execute, right? So we're dressing up. We're wearing business casual. We got our internet service provider badges on. We have our paperwork to show we're supposed to be there, right? We come at a certain time because we know the guards just shifted over at this time because we did a couple deliveries, right, during the first part of the morning. And we know the guard schedule, so we go at a certain time at night, and usually nobody's at the building, so we can do whatever we want at nighttime, right? And we can kind of sneak around. And truth be told, it's usually the newer people at the company who have to stay overnight or late at night. And I'm talking real late at night. It's usually the newer folks at the company who pull that short straw, right? And so usually the new folks, they don't really know what to do in certain situations. They haven't been exposed to a lot of that. So it's very surgical in my approach as far as when we do things and how we do things. So the execution. So you have to sell yourself. Like I said, you go in with a purpose. You act. You put on. You get yourself ready. Whatever you have to do to convince yourself that you're supposed to be there. You're getting paid. I mean, technically, I guess I am getting paid to do this, but I mean, you get paid. You're getting paid as the internet service provider, right? Whoever you work for, AT&T, Comcast, Spectrum, whoever you guys got in cold Canada, by the way, which you guys are crazy living up there. Anyway, sorry, I had to throw that in. But you have to go in there like you're supposed to be there. Obviously being an extrovert helps at this, but there are plenty of introverts in this line of work where they can just kind of flip a switch and they can turn it on and off. And, they make really, really great pen testers. Be agile, right? Be able to think on your toes real quick. If someone challenges you, you better have an explanation. You better have something in your back pocket. Not physically, but I guess, logically and physically, but, basically an excuse why you're there and all that. So sometimes this is more, human based, getting yourself ready rather than the tools, right? Because like I said, a lot of the times, like 70% of the time, I'm usually not breaking out my tools at all. So, all right. So speaking of tools, not all tools are technical. Like I said, you have to build that cover story. So we can talk about cover for action, cover for status real quick. Have you guys heard of cover for action, cover for status before? Anybody? I would be impressed if you did. So you could lie if you want. Doesn't say, okay, cool. No worries. We're going to talk about it. So, I don't think any of you guys have been to like a covert, like how to be in disguise and do a cover and all that. I don't think you've been to any of those classes. If so, that's awesome. So, so basically cover story, cover for action, cover for status. So your cover for status in the example that we're using would be basically, I'm an internet service provider. That is the reason, and that is who I am. That is why I'm at the building, right? That's my cover for status. I'm there to fix an issue. I am an internet service provider. My ID says I'm from, Colorado, even though I'm in Canada doing, work. I better be able to explain that, right? So I have all these stories, that you have to think about, right? And a lot of people don't think about, but if you go into a building, a federal building, and you're trying to get a badge, you're trying to, convince someone to give you a badge or someone to give you a key or someone to let you in, at the very least, they're probably going to write down your name, right? And then they're going to check your ID to make sure you are who you say you are. So if you don't have a Colorado ID, or sorry, a Canada, an Ontario ID, and you're in Ontario doing your thing, you better have an explanation why you don't have it, right? And even if that's super simple, oh, I just moved here, or hey, I'm up here for training, and I drew the short straw, and they're making me come in and do this, or whatever it is. I'm new, exactly. Any of those things, but it's just you have to make sure you have a story for anything that could happen. And then it kind of shifts into the cover for action, right? So your cover for action would be, okay, why are you inside my office, right? If you're in someone's office and someone comes in unexpectedly and they say, I was just coming back to pick something up after my dinner with my wife, and why are you in my office, bending down and by my computer, right? Or why are you just hacking away on my keyboard? You better have an explanation for that, right? So that's cover for action, is basically all of those smaller actions that you do, you need a reason to do that. So that's what I'm constantly thinking about every time I'm doing something. If I'm going into a certain room, a conference room, bending down to plug a thumb drive into a computer, I'll take off my ring, or I carry this little flashlight or this little pin with me, and I'll take it off and make sure no one's looking, obviously, but take it off, toss it in the floor there near the computer. And then that way, hey, oh man, I was just picking up my ring, right? As I'm plugging in the USB, I'm picking up or hey, I dropped my flashlight, and guess what? I can't find my flashlight without a flashlight. So that's why I'm down here for so long, right? So that's always a favorite one of mine. So basically every single action that you have, you need to be able to explain that. That's cover for action. Then again, cover for status is, who you are, why you're there, and all that. So, and then supporting items, right? So have your supporting items, like your disguise, right? So I always grow out my facial hair a couple weeks before, as much notice as I can before I go into an engagement, and grow out my hair, because in the result that I get caught once, I can always try to clean it up, trim it, shave it, cut my hair, whatever it is, put on a hat, put on some glasses, all those different things, and then I'm a completely different person, right, walking in. So yeah, throwing on that reflective vest, having your clipboard, or in my case, that leather portfolio, whenever I need to do the business casual kind of thing. Those support items, man, they work great. Those memos with those letterheads that you can kind of obviously Photoshop and make look all so nice and clean. It's great. With the memos that we do, a lot of the times those memos, they say, hey, we're this internet service provider. Here is these people are supposed to be in the building. They're supposed to go to these floors and fix these things and let them have whatever they need. And a lot of times I'll just throw a number on there, and then a name of someone at the company. And then that way, if they really want to be high speed, they'll at least call the number and say, hey, let me verify that you're supposed to be here, because we haven't seen an order come in that you're supposed to be here. So let me check, right? So they go ahead and they call this number, and guess who that number actually goes to? Because I've figured out in my recon and surveillance, and then kind of probing a little bit during my deliveries, that they only do a 4-digit code, right? And they don't have anyone's phone numbers, or cell phone numbers rather. So I know after hours, the person's not going to be at their desk. So I put a Rendition employee's number on there. And basically I tell this Rendition employee, I say, hey man, this person's about to call, and you need to be this person, and you need to tell them to let me in and do whatever I need to do. And they say, yep, cool, good to go. And that's exactly what happens, right? I basically force that number on them whenever they think about calling someone else. I say, no, it's all good. It's all good. Just call this number. They said to call their cell phone. They're not going to be at their desk. It's obviously late, and they didn't want to disturb anyone. But you got to hurry up, because I got to be out here. I don't want to be here, right? and I need to be out, and I'm tired, and oh man, all these great things, right? So to basically convince them to call my guy to say, yep, let him in, all right, give him a badge, give him whatever he needs. So and being a great liar, right? Do not do not lie in real life is how I always say it, but at this job, unfortunately, I got to lie a little bit, right? So to get the job done. So I know I bring my wife to these talks sometimes, and she's like, everyone's like, oh man, like, what does your wife think if you're that good of a liar? And well, I don't lie to her, right? So but it's definitely always in the back of her head. So all right, so fun fact here, right? So in 1969, scientists tested the Benjamin Franklin effect and found that yes, asking people for favors when used strategically is a tool to get them to like you more. And this is absolutely the case, right? I go in with basically, whenever you're shaking someone's hand, right? If you go to shake someone's hand, I traditionally like to equal the same amount of pressure or force that they're putting on my hand, right? To basically say, hey, I'm not trying to out strong you, but I'm also not trying to show you that I'm a weakling, right? It's like, hey, we're mutual here, right? Handshake, cool, same thing. I do the exact same thing when I'm talking to someone. If they're very energetic, if they're sad, if they're angry, whatever it is, I try to match that with them to make them understand that, hey, I'm on your side. I'm right here with you, and we're in this together, right? I want to be that person's friend as quickly as possible, in order to get them to like me, and then get them to give me what I need to get, right? So that's exactly what I'll do, right? So I come in, obviously the night shift guy doesn't want to be there, so I play into that. Oh man, yeah, I'm missing the game because of this, right? Hey, do you know the score? He's like, oh yeah, man, let me help you. I know the score. Here, I can look it up for you. Oh, cool. Yeah, I had to leave unexpectedly. I was doing this big party, whatever it is, and they called me in late at night to do this. Man, I really don't want to. I'm just trying to get in and get out as quickly as possible. Oh, cool, man. Yeah, let me help you out. Here, let me give you a badge, right? No, don't worry about it. I don't need to call anyone. No, it's all good. Just go ahead and go to the floor, whatever you need, right? Being basically making best friends with this person in order to get what you need. So, all right. Now, when that doesn't work, you can shift into this piece right here, right? So confusion, patience, and persistence. So George Bush, this quote right here is like one of my favorites, and it's a great way to basically explain how some of these engagements go. Basically through this quote, he knows what he's trying to say, and I think everyone does too here, but he isn't nailing it, and he's just confusing everyone. But the best part is that he just keeps on going, right? He's just very persistent, and he's like, you know what? I don't care that I'm butchering this thing. I'm just going to keep on trucking through this quote, and then I'm going to finish it off. And that's exactly what I do whenever I go into these buildings. I am the dumbest person when I go on these engagements. Like, if you tell me that I'm only allowed to be on floor 8, I'm going to floor 16, 20, 3, 5. I'm going to every single floor before I hit 8, guaranteed. And they could tell me 8 times, and I'm going to be the dumbest person because I need to get on all these other floors to figure out where I actually need to be, right? Yes, sorry, I got lost, right? Or, I mean, I don't know where I'm going. Or, hey, I'm trying to find a bathroom. Any of those things, right? You tell me to go left, I'm probably going right. I one time sat at basically a security desk for, I think it was like 2 or 3 hours, where they were trying to call people and try to figure out who was going to give me access into the building. They were trying their best to be as secure as they can. And they didn't let me out for like 2-3 hours, but I just sat there and I kept telling them to call them, and kept telling to the point where the guy calls back to front desk security, and they say, hey, I don't know who this guy is, but if he says he's this person, like, we just can't deal with this anymore, right? We told him to leave. He hasn't left yet, but we're just tired of dealing with this. Tell him to stop calling and just let him up, right? Give him a badge, whatever he needs, let him go. We're tired of dealing with this. I mean, I got so annoying and basically that patience and persistence and got the job done. Yep, wear him out. That's it. That's it. So when in doubt, like I said, confuse them, right? If you get challenged, confuse them, deflect as much as you can. Can you tell us about a close call that you got on the job? Absolutely. So right here, I'm right at that. God, you have great timing, Christopher. Right at this line. So the one time that I say got caught, but not really. Basically, we were in the building. There was a very let's see, what's the word here? She was in tune, right? This woman was in tune with cybersecurity. She saw someone walking around without a badge, kind of aimlessly, right? Because we do sometimes look like we're walking around aimlessly, because if we're like a delivery person, we're looking for, a name tag or a certain floor or whatever it is. So usually you'll get the nice people, right? Because everyone wants to help, and which is great. And they'll go, hey, can I help you find whoever you're looking for? So this basically this person challenged us, and they said, hey, I don't think you're supposed to be here, but who are you looking for? We told them who we're looking for, which was the same person from LinkedIn that we used for the delivery, right? And kind of had that name in your back pocket, right? Just in case. So they say, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I will escort you to the place, or to them. And then we'll go from there. It's like, okay, cool. So we get escorted to this person, and they just kind of leave, right? They say, hey, this person was looking for you. I'm going to go. And then that person left. And then now, so we're sitting at the desk in front of the person who we said we're trying to meet up with. And this person does not know who we are. And we say, oh, hi, actually, you know what? I was actually looking for someone else. So sorry to bother you, right? Just enough time for that other person to leave. And we say, yep, so sorry to bother you. And then we leave and we continue on our merry way, right? Going throughout the building, keep doing our thing, right? So it was like, man, they were so close to catching us, right? They were so close, but they passed it off. And then this person was just like, oh, okay. Like, I guess you're not looking for me. See ya, right? And so we just kept doing our thing. So that was the closest call that we've had. So the only thing that we had to worry about was that same person just basically avoiding the person that originally challenged us. And aside from that, just kept doing our thing and got out. So, again, when in doubt, confuse them and just kind of deflect. And then, like I said, patience and persistence. Don't give up or leave if you get denied. Pretty much make them call the cops, essentially. So, all right. So, lessons learned. So, doing this job, a lot of the times, whenever a company kind of approaches us and they say, hey, we want to do this, there's usually only about 2 or 3 people that know exactly what's going on, right? And the rest don't. And whenever you finish doing what you're doing and you say, hey, I got you guys, right? I was able to get in the server room, do all this stuff. They usually bring everyone else in, right? The people who are in charge of that server room and keeping that secure and all these other things, they bring them into the room and they say, oh, okay, hey, Brice, explain what happened. And those people are usually not happy, right? Because they think their job's on the line. Hey, this guy's going to make me look bad. No, it's your fault, actually. You did everything wrong. And they try to blame me for stuff I didn't do. So that was kind of a lesson learned for me is I'm there to help everyone. Mind you, the people that hired us, the select few that were kind of in the know, they were like applauding me. They were like, man, you did so good. Thank you so much. Because they understand that I'm not there to take anyone's job. I am there to improve the company overall and make sure that they don't get compromised, right? So Google Street View, it's not up to date, right? So you'll see that a building has construction or no construction, and you show up and it's the exact opposite, right? So you do have to kind of change your game plan a little bit to do your thing. So. And then leadership, right? The C-suite, CFO, CEO, COO, they don't always sit on the top floor, right? But luckily, usually they decorate those floors pretty nice, right? They usually have the golden handrails and the marble floors, and not like the other floors with just like rough carpet with nails in it and cubicles, right? So that's usually how you can find where those awesome floors are. However, I have seen companies here recently where the leadership will sit in the middle of the building and it'll look exactly the same, so it's kind of hard to tell. So definitely good on them. And then some more lessons learned here. So basically, we had a client where we pen tested them 1 year. They didn't do that hot, right? I was able to get in. They did fix everything I told them to fix, right? I gave them recommendations. They fixed everything. Okay, cool. But they actually did worse the next year, right? So the first year I was able to kind of pick locks and bypass things. And then the next year, I was able to convince the front desk security guard that, hey, I needed a badge. And they said, yep, no problem. And they gave me a badge. So I didn't need to do all that stuff this time. So, but hey, that's why it's always important to keep testing and keep improving, because there's always something, that needs to be tested and make sure that they're secure. So, we did get denied one time, right? So I have that foolproof method, if you will, where you dress up as the internet service provider and you come in with a badge and you say, hey, I have a memo, and we ended up getting denied one time, where we kind of had to rethink our strategy, and that strategy was, well, basically I picked the smallest person in my team and I said, hey, pick the largest person that's going in the morning and just tailgate behind them. And sure enough, that worked, right? So, right past security, I think one of us made a distraction, turned some eyes, and then that person just went in right behind him. So, yeah, when in doubt, tailgate. And then glass doors, right? Glass doors, all these big, skyscrapers, man, they love making their buildings look pretty with these glass doors. But they are pretty, but they don't do anything for your security, right? I can still see your rec sensors and your mag locks and all these other things. I can see into your office, right? Where I know exactly basically how I can get in the next time, or I can see information stuck up on your wall, through the glass, where it just does nothing for your security, right, at all. So, and then still batting 1,000. So, all right. So I know we're running short on time, a little long-winded. So, all right, let's talk about how to stop me here. So, basically, policies and procedures, right? Make sure those are airtight and actively test them. And what I mean is I've had clients where they say, who was that security guard that let you in that night, right? Who was that on shift? And obviously they'd be able to figure it out. But I always tell them, it's not the person that let me in, it's the lack of policy and training is what let me in, right? I say it could have been you sitting at that desk, but because there's not a policy in place, or there's no training that you're giving your people, I recognize that during my deliveries and during hanging out in the lobby, where I recognized all these things, and I basically saw that vulnerability, and that's what I exploited, right? It's that little small crack that Rob Joyce was talking about, and that's the one that I went through. So policies, actively testing those policies, prevent tailgating. Seriously, I don't care if you've been working with John for 20 years, right? And you guys are desk buddies. If you've been working with John for 20 years, the next time you see John, say, "Hey, good morning, John," and slam the door in his face after you badge in. I mean, just prevent tailgating, because John could have been coming in that next morning, right? That same morning, you let him in. You didn't know that he just got fired the night before. He's super ticked off, right? And he's coming in to sabotage the company, right? And he's coming in to put in a bunch of malware or ransomware or whatever it is, and basically bring down the whole company. And that obviously affects you, right? And you just let them in. So you never know, right? So prevent tailgating. Hide your badges. So a lot of the times I pull up, in a parking lot of some of these companies, and where I see that their badge is hanging out, I'll pull up and I'll ask them directions, and I'll make them tell me the directions. Like I said, I'm the dumbest person ever. So I'll make them tell me the directions like 5 times over, 10 times over, just so I can keep looking at their badge to put it, really hard in my head. So that way I can just say, okay, this is what we need to make, right? It looks like this. It's got an orange border and it's got the last name first and then the first. I mean, basically, if you have a photographic memory, hey, you're going to do great. But yeah. So hide your badges, because a lot of the times I will definitely steal those. Validate all visitors with employees, right? So if Brice comes in, he's meeting Yusef, and I say I'm meeting Yusef, make sure Yusef comes down to meet me and escort me, right? Don't just say, oh yeah, go ahead, right? Go ahead, go see Yusef since you know his name. Or if I have Yusuf's phone number, don't take the phone number that I give you, right? Make sure you have Yusuf's phone number, or call a number that you know is good, and make sure that that person can give you Yusuf's number to make sure. But a lot of times I'm going to try to push information on you to make you do what I want you to do, and you should not do that at all, right? So police each other, right? Hold each other accountable. Hey, your badge is sticking out, right? Hide that. Hey, you let that guy tailgate behind you. You shouldn't have done that, etc. Don't provide sensitive information over the phone, right? We with social engineering as well, just getting on the phone, we've gotten domain admin credentials just by calling someone, acting like we have a sick baby and coughing hey, my laptop's broke and I need you to give me the link. And I mean, all this stuff. I mean, it's crazy what people will do just because they want to help. And I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you guys, if you know exactly what to do, and you basically have that scalpel, you can cut right through where you need to go. Yep, that's exactly how we asked it too. He says, we said, hey, can I has root password? Exactly what we did. So, but even giving me the internet service provider, right? We've called, hey, who's the internet service provider? We're trying to, rent a floor. We're up and coming company. We're thinking about renting the 18th floor. We saw you had it available. Who's the internet service provider there? Through that, just that is how I get the idea to, come as AT&T or Comcast or whoever. And then all of a sudden I'm a little bit more legitimate. So you can buy a spy camera on a pen. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And you can use it. All right. So frequently asked questions. So what happens when you get caught? So when we get caught, again, I really haven't gotten caught, so I haven't had to use this. But basically, we have a get out of jail free letter. It's a physical piece of paper that I know I'm show off. I'm sorry. It's a physical piece of paper that basically me and my team always carry on us. It has legitimate signatures, legitimate phone numbers, and basically it says, hey, we're supposed to be here. This is what we're doing. If you get caught and this is presented to you, then call this number and everything's going to be fine. What if that doesn't work? Oh, well, here, let me backtrack for a second. So you can obviously have a fake get out of jail letter, right? So if just like I have my fake memos, you can kind of have a left pocket and a right pocket where you say, hey, yeah, call this number. It's my get out of jail letter. I'm actually working and you're doing really great. And I'll make sure I tell the boss man to give you a raise. But listen, you got to let me into this floor so I can keep doing my job, or else, it's kind of on you that your company spent all this money for me not to do my job. And they go, oh man, I don't want to get in the way of that. And I do want that raise. So you can have a fake get out of jail letter too, if you want. So, so yeah. So what if that doesn't work? Be patient. Make sure that letter's good. You're obviously supposed to be there for a reason. You're legally supposed to be there. Your company has your back. So just sit tight and everything will be worked out. So, I usually break it out. Well, my plan always is to break it out, when law enforcement gets involved. So, All right. What are some other creative ways to get in? So, like I said, any floors available to rent. Looking for those. We've set up appointments to go up into those floors, so we can look in the lobby. We can look at how the elevator works. We can see if there's other entrances. We're going to leave the realtor, whoever's trying to basically rent us this place. We're going to leave them. We're going to try to use the bathroom. We're going to get lost looking for the bathroom for 4 hours. All these things. Looking for a job, absolutely. Trying to apply for a position. Again, they're going to bring you up on an elevator. They're going to take you in. They might interview you in the lobby, as opposed to the room inside the building. So you never know, but definitely another way to go about it. What do you look for when you get in? So sensitive information, right? PII, PCI, PHI, anything that basically the company's going to go, well, darn, you're not supposed to know that, right? So passwords, keys, badges, everything, right? Sensitive information, their run books, what to do and who to call, all these things, right? A lot of times they will basically employees will have like a little handbook of like what each floor has and the numbers of people on each floor and where the server room is and all these things, all these nice things into this employee handbook, and it's great. And I love to take one of those and I just kind of walk around like I'm doing just a paid tour, right? And I'm just looking at my book. I'm like, oh, let's see what floor 3 has, and and just kind of moseying on throughout the building, reading my tour guide book. So that's always a great one. And then candy, right? Love some desk candy, and I also find some really gross stuff at desks too. So I won't say it, but all right. So I know I've seen a lot of questions in here. I was trying to pick up the pace a little bit. So I can go basically back through those, or if you guys just want to drop those in again, a little copy and pasta down here, or ask them on the mic. So
Awesome. Yeah. Your mics are unmuted. If you guys have questions, you can speak, or you can type them in stream questions, or you can hit us up at YouTube as well.
All right. So what happens to the case if you were to get caught? Does your team get to keep trying until a certain date? Yeah. So basically, we go out there for a week. Usually, it's usually one building per week. We fly in usually on Monday. We get started, and usually by Wednesday is whenever we're in the building. Sometimes it takes until Thursday, and then we're kind of doing like a debrief on Friday. So if we were to get caught or basically get turned down, if we have the time, we're gonna keep trying basically throughout the week, day and night. So how do you document while in engagement? So photographs obviously worth 1,000 words. Obviously we make sure those are secure, and we black out a lot of the information. Photograph and then just like notes, just taking notes. This is the time that I did this. This is what I did. This is who let us in. This is the floor. All that kind of stuff. So obviously, if you need to kind of dip out, you can always go to a bathroom and jot all that stuff down every once in a while in a stall and knock that out. So I know it's not the most glamorous thing, but if you're within eyesight of someone. So I know a lot of times but you guys got to understand, like I go into these places hoping that someone gives me a badge and access, because that way I don't have to hide from anyone. I don't have to explain what I'm doing there. I've already done that. I mean, I've gotten to the point where security guards, they're on a roving, they check every single floor and room and make sure nobody's in there. And to the point where they're just looking at me and they're like, hey, what's up, man? I'm like, hey, what's going on? And just like hacking away. Not a big deal, right? So do you have a least favorite kind of physical pen test, a pen test you refuse to do? So one thing that I do make sure is basically armed guards, anyone carrying like firearms. I try to not stray away from it, but that's one of the things that I'm like, I don't trust anyone with a firearm except for myself, right? So basically make sure that they have pictures of our face. We know, the lead of those people, kind of know what's going on. So those ones get a little tricky there. So do you feel bad about oh, sorry, was someone going to say something? Okay, cool. I'm just reading off these questions. So, do you ever feel bad manipulating those people? Like you're helping them in the long run, but it can be a little bit embarrassing. You know, I don't feel bad because ultimately I'm making sure that their job's secure, right? I would rather trick them and get past them than an actual adversary, right? And then I make sure that those people get training and get the policies that they need, that in the event that it does happen for real, they can at least stop them, or they have stuff in place to cover them to make sure that they keep that job, right? So that's my goal. Have you ever straight up pickpocketed someone? I not out of their pocket, but like someone leaving something behind, real quick and swiping that real quick. If that makes sense, right? Almost like leaving a desk unattended while they're going to the bathroom real quick and then taking that, real quick. Something similar is like if tailgating, right? Someone delivering something. I go in real quick behind them. Stealing their badge logically, right? Cloning that badge, getting close to them. It's, I guess, kind of a form of pickpocketing. So, let's see. What are the requirements for getting a job like this? I got a lot of training back in the day, obviously, that kind of helped me do this, and then I actually joined Rendition and doing forensics, and then it was just kind of shifted me into this. So I was very lucky in what I did. But I think you could, internships. I would say start with internships, or start with it if you're like a red teamer, or if you're a forensics person, or whatever it is. You get a job with a cybersecurity company. If they have a physical pen test team, I'm sure they have no qualms about you basically shadowing them or trying to expand or train laterally and kind of move into that position. So that would be another way to do that as well. So pretend you have the job already. Do not do that.
What if you're an SRE?
An SRE? What's SRE?
Site reliability engineer.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I'll take that. Yeah, I guess. Well, you can't do any of the active stuff, right? So.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, I mean, trying to branch from there to here would be a kind of a leap.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I guess internships or just kind of laterally. So moving laterally there. How many people are on your team? So we usually do anywhere from 2 to 3. Usually no more than 3. 2 to 3. Success rate 100%. 1,000%. Yeah. Do you ever get caught? I do not get caught. Well, sort of. I get challenged, but then we kind of get around that. So, what's your approach in the event that social engineering does not work? Like if the employees are too vigilant? I haven't come across that, but it would be more technical or brute forcing. So I would basically do the hiding, sneaking around, picking locks, trying basically the harder stuff, right? I think it's harder actually to pick locks over and over and over and over again, right, at every single floor and bypass it. And mind you, you're on camera a lot of times too. So it's usually easier just to convince one person, lie to them and say, hey, I am supposed to be here. They give you a badge, and it doesn't matter if you show up on the cameras or someone challenges you because you're already there, right? So a lot of times that's much easier. So yeah, usually it's like a last ditch effort to do all the other stuff. Have you ever left a calling card? I have one time, just because, well, yes, I have one time. Let's put it that way. We knew the person, and yeah, so usually don't do that, right? But hey, if they want that, right? I mean, whenever we do pen testing, like on a network, we do leave flags basically proving that we were there. So, if a client requests that, yeah, certainly we could do that. couple questions on the mic. Yeah, shoot, Jamie.
Hey, Bryce, can you hear me?
Yep.
Beauty. So yeah, I was kind of the one teasing you about being in the Navy a little bit there. So I'm in the Canadian Armed Forces myself. I'm in the Army.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, so currently I'm a gunner as a reservist. My plan is to go to school for cyber op. So
Yep.
Canada just started that program like not even 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to kind of ask you, like, when you were in the Navy, what was sort of your pathway, right? Because we all go through like a basic training and then your qualifying courses, but then kind of what was your pathway into like InfoSec?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, just to let you know, so I have worked with Canadians. They do a lot of cool stuff with us in the States. They get to see a lot of cool stuff, and I mean straight up work beside us. Um, so there is definitely a path there that you can do, and if you can make it happen. Myself, so basically, I joined the Navy. I just wanted to. Truth be told, I just kind of picked a job, right? I didn't know what a CPU was when I joined. So this was like, I don't know, year 10, 12 years ago, something like that. Like I knew you got on the internet. Like I didn't know anything about computers. I mean, straight up. Like I was like, oh, okay, you like, dial up, right? You click on that, right? And then you click on Internet Explorer, and then boom, you got internet, right? Good to go. That's all you need to know about computers. To the point where they were like, yeah, we're actually going to teach you a lot more than that. So teaching the hacking and cybersecurity and forensics and defense and all this stuff. And then I kind of went into a special program where they taught me a lot of other things, I guess, if you will, to kind of where I just ended up into it today. So any kind of cybersecurity, like where it's like, network operator, exploiter, anything like that. I mean, that's going to be for cybersecurity stuff. I mean, that's going to be, I guess, your cool guy stuff. Meaning, like, if you want to be, you want to be tactical, or you want to be the tip of the spear kind of thing. That's the path that you want to go into. Mind you, all pieces, every piece of the puzzle is important, right? So if you're like, hey, I don't want to be the tip of the spear, but I want to do forensics and kind of support that mission, that's awesome as well. So did that answer your question, Jamie? I hope so.
Yeah, no, it's cool to hear from your perspective because you're kind of where I want to be, in a reasonable amount of time. And it's funny to hear you say like you started off not even knowing a lot about computers, because I'm in SIG school right now. So like in Canada, we go to SIG school, which is where you
Yep.
learn your communications training. You just learn basically how the radios and communication works, and then you go to SIG in, which is signals intelligence. And then from there, I actually can go into my placement and my job. So it's just interesting to hear like your pathway, like was very like informal. Like you said, you were very on the go, and you were picking things that had a lot of interest to you. I was just kind of curious how they did it in the States for your training, but that was really cool, Bryce. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So basically, it's you essentially just choose one job, MOS, or in the Navy it's called a rate. And you say, like, for instance, oh, I want to be a Navy SEAL. Okay, cool. You're going to go on a contract for a Navy SEAL. You got to go to boot camp, obviously, and then you have to go to your schools. It's a pipeline, right? And it's the exact same way with cybersecurity. Hey, I want to be a computer hacker. Okay, cool. That's a CTN or whatever. And they say, okay, cool. You got to go to boot camp, and then you go to your school. You go to your A school, which is your first school, and they teach you that. And then after that, it's on the job training, or a C school, which is like additional school after that, and teaching you different things. And then you kind of obviously learn as you kind of shift to the different commands and departments and all that. So yeah, I would definitely look. I think you're in the right direction, Jamie. I would definitely look. You're probably in that same realm. I'm sure it's called something, and then the SIGINT, and then if you want to do basically the network side of things, and it might be the same, but I think you're on the right path. I hope, but I can look into it for you if you want me to, or get my information from Yusef. And if you're like, hey, do you think this job would take me to that path? Or if like the schools in the US that they might send you to, if that's an option, because I know some Canadians came down to our schools as well. Let me know, and I can say, yep, that's the one you need to go to, or something like that. If that's the path you want to go. So definitely want to help there.
Yeah. Yeah, because they are talking about, we do some of our training here, and then some of it we have to go down to like Fort Meade, go down to the States and stuff. So yeah, I actually might bug you about that, Brice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Fort Meade's it's a interesting place. So
Awesome, Brice.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, no worries. Have you been let's see, psychologically affected by any of your cases? No, I don't think so. How many people from my team? 2 to 3. 2 to 3 usually. What are some of the support roles part of the physical penetration team? So it's usually just like a team, like we spread out. We're usually, all of us are doing the same thing, right? So doing that recon, doing the deliveries, doing the all going into the building at the same time, right? If you show up as a team of 3 and you're like, hey, there's a networking issue, and it's a big building, it doesn't really look weird, right? And it kind of looks like, hey, one guy kind of showing up is kind of weird, but like 3 guys, it's like, oh, okay, there's definitely something going on. So sometimes it plays to your favor. But yeah, everyone kind of does everything on the team. Cool. Does anyone in your team have the same role on a case? Yes. Yeah, there are some people, I will say there are some people that are more introverted. And I kind of, me being me, I'm like, hey, let's break you out of that shell, right? You go ahead and you do the delivery, and see how you do, and that kind of thing. So, but yes, sometimes, we'll bring someone that's more technical on the keys than me, or they will be like supporting in the back, where maybe I can plug in a USB and then they can do their thing on the back end. So. Cool.
Awesome.
Any more questions?
I have one question. You mentioned you use OSINT. Is there no enterprise software involved at all in your investigations?
There are kind of, I guess, quicker ways to do that. For sake of the presentation and kind of that bullet, it's like OSINT, right? It'll just any kind of open source intelligence, whether that's tools or using Kali to do some of that work for you, right? Scraping websites or email addresses or whatever it is. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Great. I think we're gonna wrap it up there.
Cool.
Thank you
Sorry
so
for
much.
running a little over. Yeah,
No worries, man. It was like extraordinarily interesting. Thank you for taking the time out of the night to come give this talk. Thanks for everybody for coming tonight as well, and coming to listen. If you want to reach out to you, where can they reach you at? You got a Twitter?
Yeah. Let's see. Can I go back? Everyone's still seeing my stuff. So let's see. So Twitter is Be Selfless there. If you want to do that.
Be Selfless. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll definitely.
Be Selfless. 2 underscores. Just so everyone's clear.
I'll definitely be giving you a shout out tomorrow then.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me there on the website. Let's see, on our website, we have a new website dropping soon. So should have my new contact information on there. Or Yusef, obviously you have my information as well, so you can feel free to pass any questions or anything my way.
For sure. Brice, I just wanted to say thanks, man. I really appreciated it. I think we had around 50 people watching overall on Discord and YouTube, which is like a great outcome for us. And the chat was like booming the entire time. So I think you really attracted a lot of questions and you really had everyone's attention. So thanks for the great talk. We really appreciate you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, definitely appreciate the invite. It was fun for me, and you guys are awesome, man. Kicking butt on a Thursday night. I love it. So, just for everyone, just keep pushing. If this is something you're passionate about, there really is no end to what you can do in this field. I mean, it's crazy. It's constantly evolving. Technology is always coming out. I mean, if you want to do little drones, secret squirrel kind of stuff in the government. If you want to be a CEO of a tech company, I mean, anything you want to do, just keep pushing and you'll get there. Just work hard. And that's the cool thing about this job, man, is anything you want to do, it's pretty much available if it has to do with computers. So you guys are awesome. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Brice. Thanks, everybody. Have a
Cool.
great night.
Cool. Thanks. All right, you
Awesome.
guys too.